Bitcoin got rejected from the $64,800 level yesterday, and it did drop by over 3% in those next few hours. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the technical analysis on BTC, where I'm sharing my thoughts and opinions as to where I think that price action is heading next. As I get into today's video, if you do find it useful and informative, smash that like button. If you are new to the channel, subscribe, and let's take a look at what's going on with Bitcoin. So here we have Bitcoin paired up with the USDT. We're on the 1 hour Binance chart here. And as you can see, yesterday we did come up into a new hourly high, right? So you can see here this high coming in at $64,817 yesterday. That was after a previous swing high on Monday coming in at $64,745. Then, of course, we proceeded to move down into a lower low here on the hourly chart. Not lower than where we were on Sunday, but lower than where we were on Tuesday with these two wicks that we see here at the 0200 hours and at the 1400 hours. So you can see that earlier today we did move down. We were looking for a trading opportunity right in down here. I actually just missed this by a hair because I was looking for a long position to come on in here. I had this scoped out just to come down towards the 200 EMA like so with a tight stop loss, and we were targeting out the 50 EMA on the resistance. This would have been a fantastic trade had I just entered a little bit earlier like that. We hit the resistances as expected, and we're starting to see a bit of a turn. So a great trading opportunity there. Someone who was able to kind of pick up on that one before me, or was able to kind of lift up that entry just a little bit higher. It's been a really conservative, trying to really get down at a tight little snipe on that 200 EMA. So great trading opportunity, but we are facing another one right now. So as we can kind of see here with this price action dropping down by over 3%, specifically, if I come in here on the wick high, we drop down by 3.31%. Now, the structure in here is interesting. It does look to me like we are facing more declines in the price action. And if we zoom in here, we can see that this resistance on the 50 EMA, the blue line coming through, if we go ahead and just snap a line in here, we can see that we haven't breached that previous high of 63,548, at least not at the point of recording. We're seeing a bit of a move to the downside right now. So this would have been a great place to be thinking about the short, as we do see, a lower high on the 1 hour time frame here by the zoomed in approach. Now, the resistance on the 200 EMA, if it holds, is going to be our next trading opportunity, and we will be looking for a move back towards that 200 EMA and maybe a little bit lower. So if we go ahead and measure our distances here, taking a look at the structured move, to me it looks like it is actually this structure right in here, and that potentially presents itself with an opportunity to be starting to think about the move lower than the 200 EMA on this hourly chart, 61,007 to 61,003. Now, I don't think that's necessarily going to play out perfectly like that. I think there's probably going to be a very choppy kind of structure here, lots of liquidity being extracted from the market, but it's a very interesting one to keep an eye on. So basically, we're talking about is this idea of 61,361 to 61,775, which would fall in line with this previous area that we had scoped out down here. So very interesting kind of structure. The approach to this will be waiting for confirmation on the rejection from the 50 EMA. So we'll be looking for a short position. Stop loss, I'll put it a little bit higher, just above the 50 SMA there, and target out 1.5 on the risk reward ratio or the 200 EMA. So we can, of course, give ourselves a little bit more breathing room here. Even if I were to start thinking about that previous swing high, that's going to be a very interesting structure. The 1.5 risk reward ratio is going to put us somewhere in and around here. Ideally, an entry around that kind of 63,411 or closer to the 50 EMA if you can. And stop loss would be basically 63,933, take profit 62,627. That would be kind of one of the ideas I'll be floating with later today. And if you are in a Discord server using one of our affiliate links, you'll be able to see what my moves are in the profit pit down in the Discord server. If you're not familiar, go check out the Discord, linked in the description down below. You'll find more details about all of that down there. You'll see my actual moves in the profit pit. And speaking of trading, we've got some fantastic offers and exclusive bonuses for the cheeky crypto community, courtesy of the Blowfin exchange. As you can kind of see here, the whale campaign 2.0 is now in full swing. So on top of the usual kind of benefits that you get of getting up to $10,000 of deposit and trade rewards, depending on how much you deposit and obviously trade on the platform, they're also now giving you the opportunity to get your hands on a Model 3. There are several different prizes up for grabs from Blowfin just for signing up using the link in the description down below and trading and basically depositing and trading on the platform. It's quite straightforward. So if you're a trader, this is a fantastic opportunity not to be missed out on. As you can kind of see here, we have the Apple Watch SE. This is for trading volume above 3 million, which sounds a lot more or sounds a lot more difficult than it actually is. The volume is take a volume, which is only considered. The rewards will be sent within 2 days after the end of the event. Prizes will be distributed in equivalent USDT after the event ends. Each user can only get the reward once based on the highest trading volume during the activity period. 10% cashback, the amount transferred into the futures account minus the amount transferred out of the futures account. Obviously 10% of that. And you have the bonuses as well on there. So some fantastic things. As you can kind of see here, as we go up to 15 million in trading volume, you get the Herman Miller chair. You then obviously get a camera here, the Canon EOS R5 at 25 million volume. 50 million will get you a travel fund of $5,000. If you're into your bikes, a Kawasaki Ninja 650. This is for a trading volume above 100 million, and of course the Tesla Model 3 with 300 million in trading volume. So this is a fantastic opportunity to take advantage of everything that this has to offer. So this runs until October the 4th. Why don't you go ahead and check the link in the description down below and sign up to Blowfin and start actively trading and start bagging yourself some of these fantastic deals. So very interesting kind of things going on here. It does look to me like we were sniping out that earlier kind of move to the upside. That played out beautifully, hitting the resistance. If we get confirmed rejection there, we want to be thinking about another test of the 200 EMA, although there's still possible that we lose that. So I'd still be looking for a bounce off the 200 EMA and then a move to a little bit down, a little bit lower. Now, our momentum is, of course, heading towards overbought on the 1 hour time frame, but it is oversold on the 8 and 4 hours. Taking a look at the 4 hour time frame, though, you can see that it's not necessarily going to be a straight kind of move back up. The 8 hour, of course, is only just down here as well. So there's still momentum supporting the idea that maybe we are looking for further downside before we get into those relief rallies. So potentially, yeah, we do lose the 200 hourly EMA. Taking a look at the divergence indicator, it is obviously lower than our 50 level here, currently coming in at 47.94 at the point of recording. We did have some hidden bullish divergence. This is what I was trying to trade yesterday. It didn't work out very well. We did see we were finding support here, and we thought that maybe the hidden bullish divergence that was forming with support on the 50 EMA was going to be our big breakout situation, but in fact we did lose that and it did move on down. So like I say, you don't win every single trade. This is a trade that I did take yesterday, looking for a long position in here. So we did kind of go long in and around this area, tight stop loss, looking to kind of target out a little bit higher in the price action on the 1.5 risk reward ratio, and it didn't play out, and we did see in fact a breakdown. So the long down here worked out, the long a little bit higher did not. So just be aware that you don't win every single trade, and it's all about proper risk management, making sure that you are following a good strategy, because you can of course lose pretty hefty chunk of your trades and still be very profitable, as I am. So for the most part, interesting kind of things going on with BTC. The hidden bullish divergence didn't play out as expected, but nonetheless, we have seen some pretty typical and expected moves around the 200 EMA, resistance on the 50 EMA. So we expect a bit of a move to the downside next. So let's roll this up into a daily time frame. On the daily time frame, we are, looking at that idea of a double top up there. There's still the potential for this to move up a little bit further. It doesn't necessarily mean that we are completely done on the daily time frame. We are still up in this overbought area, just tapping down a little bit there. But for the most part, is still this potential for us to rally up a little bit further on the daily time frame before we get into those bigger corrections to the downside. So here we can see that we are thinking about that move towards 66,000 to 68,000. But of course, there is this very interesting area of resistance up here as well, which comes in more in that kind of 65,044 to 66,128. And you can see that this is really where the resistances are coming in a little bit lower than that, to be fair, just a little bit short of $65,000. So from here, we can see that the expectation is that another lower high on the daily time frame, unless we can really rally up higher than $70,000 on the daily time frame, we are in lower highs and lower lows. Now, of course, that's from a zoomed out approach here. You can kind of see this. And this is expanding down. That's just why we kind of are targeting out that idea of $40,000 to $44,000. Now, I know that kind of splits opinions. There's definitely people who do not believe that Bitcoin's ever going to go to those levels, and that's perfectly fine. All I'm here to do is share what the data is telling us. The data is telling us that, moves in the charts are suggesting $40,000 to $44,000 BTC, and that may or may not play out. It's, markets can change, sentiment can change, but as it sits today, we are basically coming up to the end of structures. We're facing major resistances. We're in lower highs and lower lows, and basically it predicts out $40,000 to $44,000. Hopefully I'm wrong about that. Hopefully we don't go down that low, but as it sits today, there's a higher probability of that than there is a probability of those moves to the upside heading out towards, new all-time highs. Now, is time on Bitcoin's side? Maybe. I mean, we have got some positive stuff happening in November, specifically with the US election. So, we've basically only really have a few weeks to get down to this level. If we cannot get down there during the month of October, then maybe we will be seeing, moves of pretty significant surges to the upside. But, we've got a few weeks before we kind of get into the US election positivity. And if Trump does win, I think we're going to see a lot of positivity flowing back into the market. And historically, it doesn't really matter who wins the election. We have seen on election day a positive move in the market. And we've gone all the way back to 2013, 14, taking a look at all of the elections and whether or not we see positivity and so forth. So there's a high probability that in November we see positive market movements. October, we can't be as confident. Obviously, a lot of people were talking about September, how September was going to be a really bearish time. And that hasn't really played out for those people. So again, you can't always rely on historical price movements happening, exactly the same way. But as they say, history repeats itself until it doesn't. So for the most part, we have history that tells us that US elections are very positive on the market. And so therefore, we want to be thinking about that. But until then, we might see a cooling off in the market. Our stochastic RSI is looking for downward momentum on the 1-day time frame. So we are looking for a correction in the market. It could happen, next week. It could happen 2 weeks down the line. We can't time the market, but there is a correction here overdue, in my opinion. The relative strength index is also quite high, but it's still got upward momentum here. Now, the difference between the stochastic RSI and the RSI is that the stochastic RSI is more sensitive to price movements. It's great for being able to snipe entries in trading and so forth, whereas the relative strength index is not as sensitive and therefore is used for trend purposes. So we can see here that we're in a potential upward trend, but again, that's no new news, I should say, as we are still in very bullish times for BTC on a macro scale. And that's kind of what the relative strength index is showing us. The stochastic RSI just tells us that actually the market's looking for a correction. It's looking to kind of see a little bit of a cooling off. And that's kind of what we've seen time and time again. You can see the last time that we were here was back in August 25th. And we obviously know what happened there. The time before that, we were talking about July, so late July, and we can see what happened there. The time before that was in early July, and the time before that, it was the 6th of June. And so you can see that there's these corrections in the market every time you end up in these overbought areas. And taking a look at where we are right now tells us that we should be expecting some kind of cooling off in the market. Okay, so nothing terribly too new there, but for the most part, we are seeing a potential move here towards $40,000 to $44,000. Hopefully it doesn't go that low. A double bottom at 49 would be nice. That could basically be a finishing structure that we can then start to see a rally from. But markets can be notoriously unpredictable. So we want to be very, very careful, cautious, and monitoring these macro movements on BTC and obviously the stock market, which is obviously heavily correlated now. So we want to be aware of all those kind of things. So for the most part, Bitcoin is behaving as expected. Nothing terribly too unusual on the larger timeframes, and obviously with some huge trading opportunities on the smaller timeframes as well. Now, you guys can let me know what your thoughts and opinions are on Bitcoin's most recent movements in the comments down below, or join us in our free Discord server. We would love to hear from you. And if you haven't done so already, guys, check out this video just here. It's not one you're going to want to miss.